And welcome to another edition of On the Hatfield. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel wherever you may be tuning in. We're on Cova Sports TV on YouTube, VirginiaPreps.com, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X. We thank you all for tuning in and interacting with us here on this latest installment. State semifinal weekend is here. We're going to break it down. We've got some special guest interviews coming your way, including head football coaches of region champions. Colonial Forge's John Brown, Region 6B champs. They took care of business in their title game in 6B over Patriot on Black Friday last week, Thanksgiving weekend. You also have a conversation coming your way with Kettle Run head football coach Charlie Porterfield, whose team has had a couple of thrillers against Richmond area teams, one at home against Armstrong in the region semis, and then at Virginia Union against top-seeded and unbeaten Thomas Jefferson of Richmond, the Vikings. Now they get ready to take on Lafayette. So a couple of 7-5-7 teams will take on those teams. Oscar Smith hosting Colonial Forge. You've got Lafayette visiting Kettle Run. And we had on Andy Lynn of the Lafayette Rams on last Saturday's 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Always available on Cova Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. All right, it is cold outside, folks. December is here. November's in the rearview mirror, but there were some interesting region championship games in the month of November. 24 region title games. We had one go to double overtime, and that one that was the most thrilling, or I should say compelling, was the one in Region 3D, where it was William Byrd, the Terriers, avenged their regular season loss to Lord Botetourt, winning in Daleville and doing so by a count of 46-44 in double overtime. Most of your games were relatively lopsided. Hey, look at the margins of these games. Oscar Smith winning by 21, Colonial Forge beating Patriot by 28, Lake Braddock by 15. Madison came roaring back from an early deficit against Washington Liberty to win by 27. Green Run had a battle with Salem of Virginia Beach. Lights were out in that game. They won by 7. Maury, tight game early. They pulled away from Kings Fork. LC Bird Fleming was close, 10-7. Briarwoods beat Riverbend by 17. Phoebus by 42 over Hampton. Varina puts up a 41-burger on the board against Dinwiddie, who's done. Caps the legendary career of Harry Dalton, who now moves on to Southern Cal. Tuscarora beating John Champ pretty soundly. We'll give you some thoughts on Tuscarora's matchup in the state semis with Varina. Sharando slipping by Salem 29-26. The Warriors will come to Darling Stadium to take on Phoebus. That's your early start on Saturday, a 1 o'clock kick, as the Phantoms try to keep their winning streak, which is the longest in the state, going in their quest for a four-peat. Lafayette, early battle with Norcom. They pulled away by 27. Kettle Run was the 3-point win, as we mentioned. Liberty Christian over Turner Ashby by 33. The Bird Botetourt game was close. And then in Class 2 and Class 1, most of those were just total smokers, most of them. Pocosin beats King William by 40. Strasburg beats Buckingham by 47. Glenver beats Gretna by 22. Graham over Union by 21. Essex, its third straight shutout to begin the playoffs, 41-0 over Rappahannock. Alta Vista by 12 over Buffalo Gap. That was really your closest one, with the exception of the one we're coming up on in 1D. Grayson County shutting out Bath County 20-0 amidst snow flurries out there in Hot Springs, Virginia. And Rye Cove, a 26-20 winner over Eastside, doing it at the very end as they got that touchdown to win it late in the closing minute. And Rye Cove beat Eastside 40-8 regular season game. Not the case in terms of a close battle this go-around, as they end up getting it with an unsung hero scoring the go-ahead touchdown in the closing seconds, and that being Luke Jesse, as he had the TD that came with 25 seconds left to lift them to a 26-21. Gary Collier's Eagles getting it done. Let's give you some sound, though, from Friday night's win, and one of those wins was on Friday night with the Oscar Smith Tigers. We got a couple of sound bites. First up, the Buffalo signing. It was signing day, by the way, folks. We'll give you some thoughts on some signing day flips in a moment. But Trey Jones, Alvin Trey Jones, wide receiver, headed to Buffalo for some action. Here's what he tells us after the win over Highland Springs to get a region championship. In his senior hurrah, 2 more wins away from the state title. It's on the hash with Hatfield.
All right, here with the senior wide receiver, Alvin Trey Jones III. The Buffalo Commit Tigers win the Region 6A championship by a count of 28-7 over Highland Springs. All right, 4 grabs, 91 yards tonight. Trey, how does it feel after last year? This is a team that ended your season. You get a little measure of revenge against a really good Springers program that's known for success, like you guys at Oscar Smith.
You know, it felt great out here doing what we had to do. We knew all week we was going to have to come out here and play hard, play physical, because we knew they were going to do the same thing. You know, we prepped real good and got the job done.
A lot of weapons on his team. We know how great the defense is. Almost got his 4th straight shot tonight. You got Lonnie at quarterback who can run and throw it. Brandon Nesbitt, Tajay Curtis, Thunder and Lightning. Travis Johnson opposite you at receivers, one of the best in the country. So what about your role in this team? It seems like you also do some things, and it can be an X factor in some games like this one tonight.
Yes, sir. I'm a speed guy. Can take the top off the defense whenever you need me to. Yes, sir. Get the job done.
Sophomore, junior, you were known as that speed guy, made plays on special teams, but after the last couple of years not getting to this point, region championship, what's been kind of the message in the offseason to get to this point? Because that's where literally the work starts to get you here to November and December, correct?
All off season, we knew this was the team that was going to do it. We was training way harder. We just, yeah.
Yeah, you're good. It's okay. Favorite route for you, because you're a speed guy. Do you like the go routes? You like the curls? You got the hitches? I mean, you feel like you can take it to the house at any time, right?
Yes, sir, definitely. I like post routes, corners, take that on deep.
Sure. Last two for you. You're going to Buffalo. Tell me about that commitment to the Bulls, what you like about them. I think one of the assistants is from here, right? Or was coaching from here, right? Coach Wickham?
Yes, sir. Something crazy. When I was little at an ODU camp, he was the coach at ODU. I got a picture with him when I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
But Buffalo, I love the staff. They showed me a lot of love, a lot of appreciation, and yeah, you can't beat that.
Sure, absolutely. And you get to go play on some action games next year when you get to Buffalo. Last two for you. Actually, I said last one, but I got two more for you. Who's your NFL guy? You watch college and pro football. I'm sure you got a guy you model out there on the football field. Who is it? Or a couple of guys. Who are they?
I like people like Jamar Chase, Jay Jettis, Tyreek Hill, people like that.
Not bad. The cheetah's pretty fast, just like you.
Yes,
you might have to race him one day. And lastly, what's it going to take for Oscar Smith to beat Colonial Forge next week? You've beaten him 5 times before, but I know you want to get to James Madison really bad.
Yes, sir. We just got to go harder in practice, even harder this week. We know they're a good team also. And yeah, we just got to keep going hard, keep playing physical, and keep getting the job done, executing.
Watch out for number 6. He's going to get 6. Oscar Smith, Trey Jones. Thank you so much. All the best.
Yes, sir.
It's been cold out there at Beard DeLong Easley Field this week for practice, as it has been all over the state, as these young men, players, coaches, even the support staff members getting ready for the state semifinal games coming up on Saturday all across Virginia on the hash with Hatfield. And you saw Trey Jones, one of the signees that we had a national signing date earlier this week. I believe it was on Wednesday, just a couple days ago. So while we have a moment here, we will show you when you subscribe to VirginiaPreps.com. Here's my shameless plug for the website that I'm the publisher for. And we have all kinds of previews coming up all throughout Friday into Saturday morning, coverage for you, blogs, updates, recaps, photos, podcasts, everything for you. You'll see also when you become a VIP member, we've had the big sale with Rivals that has been up here recently. You get great content, and some of that content includes our VIP board that has the list of all the signees across the state, FBS, FCS commitments. You see the list there. There were a couple of flips, one of which was Jones's teammate as we go down to Oscar Smith, and that being Jamari Deloach. He was headed to Cincinnati. Now he's going to Virginia Tech. You got Jaden Dabbs also going to Army from the Tigers. Norcom was able to flip a guy from Virginia Tech, or I should say Penn State was able to flip a guy from Virginia Tech earlier, and Matthew Alton, the Norcom wide receiver. There were a couple of switcheroos that happened. A young man that was late in the process, Kings Fork running back Javon Ford, just saw his career come to an end with the Bulldogs. He's going to Towson to play his college football. There were a couple of switches, nothing too earth-shattering, but I think the big win was for Virginia Tech. And the real puzzling one that has people scratching its head a little bit is in the case of, you see Connor Moore from Westville going to Furman. The big one that was a little bit of a stunner was the fact that Old Dominion didn't get any local signees from the 757. Virginia, they, of course, got a flip in Salem running defensive back, I should say, from Salem, Virginia, and Josiah Persinger. He was once headed to JMU, and JMU was able to get a guy that flipped to them from Villanova and Patriot running back Jackson McCarter. He was out last week, not in uniform for the Pioneers, but that's a little bit of a surprise there that ODU has not got any 757 guys yet. We'll see if that does change at some point. But you got a chance to hear from one of the Tigers standouts. What about the head coach of the Tigers going for his 3rd state title at the helm? That being none other than Chris Scott. Here's what he told us. They beat Highland Springs 28-7, and now they get ready for Colonial Forge, a familiar nemesis going back to the days of Rich Morgan, then the great Bill D. and Scott Johnson. Now Chris Scott trying to bring them another championship, which would be the Tigers' 5th if they can get 2 more wins. The conversation now on Cova Sports TV. It's On the Hash with Hatfield.
All right, here with Oscar Smith head football coach Chris Scott as Tigers win their 4th regional title in 6 seasons, 28-7 over Highland Springs. Coach, your defense was balling out. Almost got a shutout for the 4th straight game. You hold them to 39 yards in the first half. What can you say about that group and your whole team to get it done here in a gritty physical battle?
Coach Simmons had has had those guys dialed in. The defensive line, we rotate 8 up there. So Coach Lilly, Coach Harold, Coach Matthews, they've had those guys playing, and that's what we did tonight. It was the same thing. Starts up front. Those guys were able to establish that line of scrimmage and move it back in the backfield, and obviously get that quarterback down who can run. And he had some big time plays. Defense did a great job of playing and keeping us in comfortable position all night.
I don't know if you have a nickname for the duo, but the Thunder and Lightning you got back there with Tajay Curtis and Brendan Nesbitt, what they did tonight, it really was in the second half. You were able to go to some of that direct snap package and kind of do will on will, if you will, run the ball down the throat.
Certainly. We those guys, Thunder, Lightning, tropical storm, whatever you want to call it. Those guys are back there. They get downhill, and it just is. It's an attitude that the defense establishes, and then when the offense can say, hey, we're going to take this physicality and we're going to do this as well on our side, it becomes contagious. Those guys got us going and allowed us to take control of that game when it felt like, they were able to get a couple first downs, and it was like, hey, listen, we got out there. We didn't get moving on offense, so we were out quick, and then the defense was back out. So we said, hey, let's go ahead and grab control of this, and 99 just kept saying, let's run behind me. Those B-backs back there that are defensive linemen love that. So it's a great attitude, great package for us.
And that 99 is Isaiah Bray, youngster who's a freshman, is it?
Yeah, freshman.
So he's got a bright future ahead for him. I thought quietly, almost 100 yards receiving tonight, Trey Jones had a big game for you. You got him open in space, and he did some good things.
Yeah. We had big play right there. I mean, set up a touchdown by that in that package, but we just went over the top, and he catches it. Just making some of those plays. Everybody did a little something, and that's what we kept saying. We didn't know who it was going to be. It's going to be somebody that we didn't plan for, but just somebody would step up and make a play, and that's what the guys did.
2 more for you. Did it feel like a little bit of a measure of revenge? Because last year, a lot of these young kids on this team were not able to get the win against Highland Springs. This is the same team you got here in the playoffs, a chance to redeem yourself?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when those guys are a freshman and sophomore and playing last year and get a chance to go up there and against a team that has had a lot of success, they definitely remember that, and then the fact that we get a chance to play on a Thanksgiving, and a lot of the guys that are in college playing from last year's team are back, and even former years, but it kind of gets those guys hyped up a little bit, and it definitely felt added to a little bit of the spice for us.
And lastly, you're going for a 3rd state title at Oscar Smith now. This was the program's 62nd playoff win, but after losing the region semis the last couple of years, to win this region again and have a chance to go back to states, what's it mean for you, the staff, the pride of the program?
Means everything to the coaches. They put in a lot of work, and they pour a lot of love into our guys. So I know it means the world to me because a lot of those guys played for me. Yeah. So seeing them give back, and then now it means the world to Smith and the traditions that we have here. So to be able to get back to that game and have a chance to win it is pretty exciting. And we have a lot of work to be done with some pretty good opponents in front of us. But we like the team that we have, and we get a chance to take the field with.
Tigers are 13-0 in counting. They'll host Colonial Forge in the state semis, a win away from a trip to the state finals at JMU. Thank you so much. Go enjoy it.
Thank you.
So that's Chris Scott of Oscar Smith. Could be a great weekend for the 7-5-7 here in state semifinal Saturday, because you have at least one team going to the state championship game at James Madison University in Harrisonburg. Oscar Smith hopes to join the winner of Green Run Maury. That's a Class 5 showdown in the semifinals. Stallions have fallen twice to the Commodores before. Is the 3rd time going to be the charm for Brandon Williams' team from Virginia Beach as they go to Norfolk and Palatine Field for that matchup? Our man Will Garlick will be on the scene for us for VirginiaPreps.com, giving us coverage of that game. We shall see if it is. Maury's trying to keep that win streak going. Phoebus is going to host Sharando at Darling Stadium. 1 o'clock kick in Hampton. Jeremy Blunt's team on the drive for 4 in a row. They did it once before from 2008 to 11, encompassing Coach D and Stan Sexton. Now Jeremy Blunt trying to have them make some history. They're 2 wins away from that. Winner of Phoebus Sharando draws the winner of that BC semifinal game with Verona Tuscarora. You've got Lafayette going to Kettle Run. Andy Lynn's team fell a year ago in the finals at Liberty University to Liberty Christian, who, by the way, they are led by a Clemson signee who was named the Gatorade Virginia Football Player of the Year today, and that being Gideon Davidson. So it could be a rematch in Class 3 for the final. And Picoson's playing at home against Strasburg, who put a whooping on Buckingham in the state semis. So you could have up to 5 teams potentially from the 757 area code playing in the championship round. And wouldn't it be something if more than 2 brought home titles to Hampton Roads? Last year, of course, Maury got it done in Class 5. Phoebus got it done In Class 4, we'll see if Oscar Smith, winner of Maury Green Run, Phoebus, Lafayette, and Pocosin all get there. But coming up next, after we take a timeout, we'll dive in on some of those matches, by the way. Don't worry, I gave you my quick takes, my picks, my thoughts on it. We'll hopefully hear from Coach Young and his picks if I get him here before we close out the show. But we're going to hear from John Brown, the head football coach of the Colonial Forge Eagles, as he will break down his team, their matchup with Oscar Smith. Give us a chance to give one of the teams from the 540 some love as we get you the preview, the snapshot of their game and what they've been doing as a number 6 seed, the only 6 seed that's made it this far. Remember, last year it was Galax, the number 5 seed in Class 1, making it all the way to the championship game and squeaking it out on a field goal from a freshman at the end to beat Essex. Essex is back. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in Class 1, but let's take a time out and hear from some of the sponsors, such as CHKD Sports Medicine. Stay tuned. You're watching On the Hash with Hatfield.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Live and he's local. It's the Morning Drive with Johnny D.
Hey, Hampton Roads, finally live in local sports. 6 to 9 a.m. weekday mornings. It's the Morning Drive with me, Johnny D, alongside Suave and JJ. Tune in right here to your new official home of the sports fan in Hampton Roads. Fox Sports 1310 a.m., 100.9 FM, and always streaming live on Cova Sports TV.
And welcome you back to On the Hash with Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our Cova Sports TV YouTube channel. We have a special guest with us. He is the head football coach of the Region 6B champion Colonial Forge Eagles. What a performance they put on last Friday, defeating Patriot on the road. And they're, in many ways, Colonial Forge, a program that has had a lot of success over the years. But this year's Cinderella, the number 6 seed going into the state playoffs. They win road playoff games over the likes of Stafford and North Stafford, avenging regular season losses to both of them, Commonwealth District rivals, and then beating Patriot 42-14 to set up another showdown with Oscar Smith in the state playoffs. We say hello and congrats to Coach John Brown. Coach, how you been? It's December and you're playing football, so you got to feel pretty good.
I do feel pretty good. I remember Richard Morgan was down. We were down there one year, and he said, walked up to him and said hello, and he said, "It's if we're both here right now, we've had a good year." So I've never forgot that he said that, and he's right. You get this far, and it's been a good year. We want to, just thankful to be this far. That's for sure.
For sure. We're going to have some of the stat leaders scroll across our ticker for those that are unfamiliar with the football there in the 540 and what you guys play at Colonial Forge. I've tweeted this year during my Hats Hits and have talked about it a little bit on our On the Hash with Hatfield program that I don't know if it's the best brand of football statewide, but I feel like y'all have had the most exciting games this year with your district and the teams you played down to the wire. Some have been good for you. Some have not been. The games with Stafford and with Brook Point and Riverbend and all these different teams, North Stafford, have gone down the wire. Even your first game of the year, Coach, with Woodbridge was a 22-21.
It was tight. Yeah, we had to. They went for 2 right at the end, and we had to come up with a big stop. So we were right out of the gate.
Has that helped your kids, though, to be in all those situations that it's taken some of the pressure off, that you were a 6 seed, not much expected, and you knew what kind of football team you had, just had to kind of mesh it, make it all kind of mold together. How do you kind of summarize where you are at this point? I
think that kind of stuff, especially right out of the gate, it definitely helps. You've got to dig down and find your way through. They did a great job at Woodbridge this year. They really came a long way, and I talked to the coach afterward, and he said, "No guts, no glory." So, those types of things do shape you. We got off to a pretty fast start. We played Patriot there in I believe it was the 4th game of the year. And they certainly were. Them and Battlefield were definitely, the top 2 teams in our region and in our area this year. So, that early game with Woodbridge really helped us. When we had to kind of dig down and find something, we were down at halftime to Patriot, came out on top against them, made some plays in the second half, and were able to come through. And then we ran into Stafford. Stafford had a really dynamic backfield. They had Michael Creamer, who's had a bunch of offers. I'm not sure he's signed recently. I'm not exact. Can't remember where he went. And then their quarterback was super dynamic. So we lost to them in the last 11 seconds. And then we're up and down. Riverbend had a really good team this year, and very physical, and came together at the right time. They played in the regional championship, and we got beat by them. And at that point in the year, we're pretty banged up. We're just starting to get back to where we're pretty healthy again. And this late in the playoffs is pretty crazy. It's been kind of an endurance test. We lost to North Stafford in the last game. They have really super dynamic athletes, well coached. And then we regrouped, and our kids have a lot of pride, and I was super proud of them. And we went over to Stafford. It was our first road game in the playoffs, and we're able to we got better on defense is really truthfully what happened, and just kind of started getting healthy at the right time, and played North Stafford the next week, and in the second round of the playoffs, and again, just put together a good defensive game and did enough on offense in that game to get through, and then played in the regional championship last week against Patriot. So we had a good game, and again, our kids resilient and finding ways to win, and putting together a stretch of good games and really working to get to that point. So I'm proud of where we're at right now.
Yeah, pretty fun to watch. I got a chance to check out your game, soup to nuts, against Patriot in the region finals, and ultra impressed with what your kids did, all 3 phases: offense, defense, special teams. And by the way, that Creamer kid is going to Richmond, running back for Stafford.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
Where he's headed. So I want to get to, before we get to some of your key guys, and I love, by the way, Jake Mangano has been one of my favorite defensive linemen to watch, or two-way linemen to watch all year long. And we know about his dad, his coaching pedigree. Your dad's got a coaching pedigree, certainly helping you out with scheming and game planning, a Hall of Famer in Bill Brown, who you took over for as head coach in 2008. Just tell us about this journey at Colonial Forge. You guys have been knocking on the door, and you have some history with Oscar Smith, which we'll get to in a little bit. But to be doing it again and having this run and just being a win away from a state championships, I know it's the ultimate dream for you guys. And he's got a couple of rings in his history, and you're trying to get one yourself.
That's right. We started there in 2007, I believe, and then we flip-flopped. He was the head coach, and we flip-flopped roles. Probably what year was it? 2018. So I was coached the offense, just did whatever. I had been a head coach up in Prince William County for 2 years, actually at Freedom. I was the first head coach at Freedom High School. And before that, as you mentioned, we were at Hilton together. So, it's been really, really, really fun working with him and learning from him. When he retired and became a principal, I started working with Coach Sorrentino. He was the next coach. So, it's been a very, very good journey for me. And learning from 2 good coaches and getting to work with my father. Not too many people get to say that, especially, when you get as much gray hair as we both have. So, his insight and different things that he's done in his career, that I get to ask about. Not only is he, a mentor, but he's also my dad. So, it's not too often that he doesn't tell the truth, of course, and will tell me when I'm right and most certainly tell me when I'm wrong. But here recently, in very recent history post-pandemic, we struggled quite a bit. We were now, struggled quite a bit is relative, but we struggled against, and right coming out of the pandemic, that first full year, I think we were 4-6 and we made the playoffs. The next year we were 6-6, and we actually played Battlefield in the first round of the playoffs, and they were undefeated at the time. But we had played Highland Springs and Stonebridge and had a really tough schedule. So our kids believed that, we had played some of the best top teams in the state. And we were able to, to punch through there. So we kind of righted the ship last year, played Hayfield. And then, this year we've, like you said, we had some struggles early, got to where we're at now. Oscar Smith is like they usually are, they're waiting, at this end. So they're, yes, absolutely. We want to win the state championship. We know yearly when we go into the weight room, that Oscar Smith, there's a good chance that we're going to be playing, a team, either Oscar Smith, a team like Oscar Smith, whether it's Highland Springs or Manchester. And that's, kind of who we try to build to beat, if you will.
Yeah, and you've had some epic battles with them. I know they're 5-0 all time. That double overtime game in 2017, 2016 final play, 2019 was a 2-point deficit. But you mentioned obviously your dad's pedigree, Coach Sorrentino, Coach Mangano, all the brain power you guys all have there at Colonial Forge. For you guys to look at this team this year, what do you think is the separating factors? Because it feels like you're pretty solid in every phase. You don't have that one signature 4 or 5-star recruit, but it feels like you've gotten better and better each week, and you're peaking at the right time, which sometimes a championship team may do. This might not be the most talented team you've had at Forge, but in a lot of ways, you're going in with, I don't know if house money is the right phrase, but you're going in loosey-goosey, and you feel like this group is just enjoying the ride. Is that a fair way to characterize it?
I think that is a good way to put it. We take a lot of pride, in what we do. And, you mentioned Jake and Coach Mangano, and, Jake is extremely, is a very good leader. You know what I mean? And he is extremely into football. And you have to be that way to live in that house with Joe. And they both, do a great job for us. Joe is a very, very good football coach. And as you mentioned, he was a great head football coach at North Stafford, and he was at Garfield previous to that. But, to answer your question, it's kind of like you have to put the pieces of the puzzle together as you go. And I think this year, more than any year, we've done that. We've kind of tried to just keep figuring out what's the best scenario for us. What's the best case that we can, put on offense, defense, and as you mentioned, special teams, and how's that puzzle come together? And try to peak at the right time. I have a good friend of mine that's a cross country coach, and he's older. He's been around a long time. He said, we want to be great when the leaves start to fall. And that stuck with me. I talked to him about that in August, and, here the leaves are starting to fall, and we're starting to, get pretty good. So, or get better, if you will, and peak at the right time. None of it has been extremely easy this season for us, I wouldn't say. But just trying to put those pieces together and have the kids, buy in each week and give great effort. I'm super proud of that.
Let's look at your offensive personnel that have helped you here. We talked about Jake, what a 4C is, two-way factor in the trenches. But Brock Brimhall, your quarterback, running that RPO really well for you, over 2,300 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, also has a good amount of rushing yards. Josiah Bryson, who I believe is going to St. Francis,
that's right.
As it was announced on Wednesday, rather. He's going to be a factor for you in the ground game, has been all year long. And then Tayshawn Jones at receiver, he really caught my eye these last few games, Coach. It feels like he's starting to play his best football and become that game changer. And he might have been from the start for you, but it feels like he's taken his game up another peg. And what do you see offensively that you guys can hang your hat on as you try to keep this thing going?
We have to, in this part of the year, you have to be able to run the football. I mean, Oscar Smith does that exact same thing. They run the ball extremely well. If you can't run the ball well, especially at this point in the season, I'm talking about championship, not necessarily in cold weather, but in a championship, time frame or a championship part of the year. And if you can't stop the run, you're not going to get this far. So, I think most teams, and I don't want to speak for anybody, any other coach or anything like that, but it sure does seem like, even the great teams that have played in years past, Highland Springs and, Oscar Smith in years past, and even us and, Freedom here recently, everybody can run the football. that's where I think you have to be great, and you have to be great stopping the run. If you can do those two things and play, pretty good special teams, and throw the ball some effectively, then you have a good chance in these types of games. At least you give yourself a good chance, if you will, or give, these types of games this deep in the year, you do have to have kids that are able to step up and make plays. And those kids that you mentioned for us, you hit it on the head. They have stepped it up and have done a good job. And, football is important to all those kids too. They had a good year in the weight room, and, our team leaders and things of that sort. So we kind of expect them to step up. That's what we've talked about, and I think probably other programs do too. You got to have those playmakers that you count on step up and at this time of year and in these types of games.
No doubt about it. A few more minutes here with John Brown, the head football coach of the Region 6B champion Colonial Forge Eagles, who will be in Chesapeake on Saturday to take on the Region 6A champion Oscar Smith Tigers. Winner moves on to James Madison University for the Class 6 championship on December the 14th. James Madison, the site for that, as the winner of Forge. Smith will take on the winner of the game between Madison and Lake Braddock. It's on the hash with Hatfield on Cova Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Coach, another unsung hero that probably haven't hit on yet is a freshman, I think he is, Jerion Majid. He had a couple scores. I think he had a pick in the game on Friday. Yep. Pretty impressive to see a ninth grader just step up in those moments too for you.
He's a different bird now. He's got the whatever it is, the it factor that he can step in and make, big time plays for us. And I think he would be probably doing it for anybody. He has gotten better each week. He really asked great questions. He just turned 15 years old yesterday. So, he's a pretty impressive kid. He's pretty impressive to be around. And then to watch him play and to watch him to continue to get better each week has been a lot of fun. I'm glad I get to coach him. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And the last couple ones for you here. Defensively, when you see Oscar Smith on film, you see the firepower. It goes back to the days of Rich Morgan and the late, great Bill D. Scott Johnson, and now Chris Scott, what they have, the backs, the receivers, the junior and Travis Johnson, who's a game changer, the sophomore Triggerman and Lonnie Andrews, who's quite good. I mean, you talked about being able to run the ball and stop the run. Is there anything early in the game that you feel like can set the tone for you and allow you to kind of settle in? Is that important to start the game well, or is a lot of things going to be done in terms of adjustment-wise after the first series or two halftime? What's your view of it and your coaching staff's view of it as you go into this matchup?
I think it's both. I mean, I think you're going to have to make adjustments. You know what I mean? They're going to throw stuff at us, I believe, or I think any team in this situation, that we're both in and this late in the season, you've got to be able to make adjustments. They get off the ball really well. They have a lot of impressive skill players. There is absolutely no doubt about that, as they have, every year that we've played them. But I think the thing that sets them apart is how good they are in the box defensively. Their skill kids in the back end of their defense is very, very, very good. But their box players are also, they get to the ball so well. It's almost like a teach tape. Up front, their offensive line gets off the ball, extremely well. They're fun to watch, and they're well coached. So all that kind of stuff, fits really well together to make a great team. And they certainly are. So, yeah, we're going to have to match what they do. We're going to have to come down there with be in the right, frame of mind, to come out there and play ball. I know they're going to do that. We know how, when you walk in there and they start to come through that tiger cage, you better have your mouthpiece in and your chin strap buckled. We get that. We know that for sure.
Sure. Different atmosphere, no doubt about it. Should be a fun one on Saturday. Well, good chat, Coach.
They do a great job. I mean, it really is. I would love to play them, at Colonial Forge and not have to come down there to Chesapeake, but roads lead there. You know what I mean? You get this late in the season, you like I said, we build to play that game that they do. It's a good atmosphere. It's a fun place to play for sure.
Yeah, this is the sixth encounter, and 5 of them being at Beard DeLong, Easley Field in Chesapeake. Lastly, Coach, and thank you for coming on. Do you reference at all those previous meetings, or is that something that doesn't even get brought up, shown, talked about? Because some of these kids weren't even – some of them may not have been – well, they're born, but not even playing football that stage. Yeah. They don't care about it. How do you approach that and just the magnitude of what's at stake? Because it would be historic if you were to knock them off and play in your first state championship as a program.
Sure. It's like I said, I think I've said earlier to somebody that it's the state semifinals. So no matter who it is, you want to come down or wherever the game's at and put your best foot forward. I absolutely reference them. I grew up on the sidelines. I've been on the sidelines since I was 7 years old, believe it or not, being a water boy. So, those types of things stick with me, playing Andrew Brown and seeing Josh Sweat standing right next to Andrew Brown and the great running backs and quarterbacks that they've had there, to Cam Kelly, to, all the kids that they've had. And you can just go on, but, I've been a part of it, you know what I mean? And I've seen it. And I want our kids to understand that, we've been there, we've been down there. There is a mystique to going down and playing Oscar Smith. But once you get in those white lines and you start to play football, all that kind of stuff goes away, and you've got to step up and make plays like we talked about right at the beginning. You've got to, put your best foot forward. Like I said, you've got to strap it on, put your mouthpiece in, and let's get going.
2:00 coming up on Saturday, the Class 6 state semifinals with the Oscar Smith Tigers unbeaten on the year, taking on the Region 6B champion Colonial Forge Eagles. Winner moves on to Harrisonburg and JMU for the state finals. Coach John Brown, thank you so much. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
Matt, it's good to see you, man. If I see you, it means we've done something this year. So I'm glad to see you.
Appreciate the compliment. All the best to you and your squad. And then we'll take a timeout. We've got more to come on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Stay tuned. Let's now hear a word from some of the sponsors that make it possible. We'll be back in just a bit.
After more than 50 years of innovation, AstroTurf still leads the way. The inventor of artificial turf does it all, right here in the USA. We engineer, test, manufacture, and install the world's most innovative fibers and turf technologies, with over 30,000 tracks and fields worldwide. AstroTurf, powered by Sport Group.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Back here on The Hash with Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our Cova Sports TV YouTube channel, wherever you may be tuning in. We thank you for doing so on this particular Friday in December. It's frigid outside. Temperatures in basically almost single digits out there with that wind chill. It feels like with that chill in the air. We've got Kettle Run head football coach Charlie Porterfield coming up in just a bit to break down his team and their matchup with the Lafayette Rams in Class 3. But let's get to some quick thoughts and some quick picks and some reaction instant analysis on these games that are coming up in Class 6 down to Class 4, the state semifinals. We give you the snapshots on 6 of these games, the opinions, the picks. I just got Coach Young's picks at my fingertips on the device here, so we will give them to you as we will share it on the screen, the brackets for all of you here on this edition of the program. So let's do that now. You heard Class 6 Coach John Brown. You also heard from Class 6 Coach Chris Scott. Both of us are taking the Tigers in this game to beat the Eagles of Colonial Forge and make it 6-0 in the series history. Key's going to be for Oscar Smith to start fast behind their crowd in that Tiger cage, get the atmosphere going, let their defense work. It is so hard to move the ball on, and Colonial Forge has to match the physicality, get a couple of big plays in the air with Tayshawn Jones, but also be able to run the ball. Give the Tigers the edge in this game. I think they're a year wiser than they were a year ago, and they've shown that with that recent win over Highland Springs. Coach Young has it a close game, though, ladies and gents. He's got it 16-12, which would mirror a lot of their recent encounters. Lake Braddock and Madison, we both have the Warhawks winning this one. He's also got it close at 21-18. I have it more of a 2-score game. I like what Coach Mike Doherty has done at the helm at Lake Braddock this year, but I do wonder, having lost to them already this season in the regular season, pretty comfortable win for Madison in that game if the Lake Braddock defense has the personnel to stop what Madison can do with nicely, getting him out in space, running the rock, also catching the ball. They've beaten Lake Braddock each of the last 2 years. They beat them last year regular season 31-7, beat them 36-15 this year regular season. If Lake Braddock can keep their quarterback upright and they can take some shots down the field, well, they have an opportunity to win this game because offensively they do a lot of good things. They have nice design with their play calls. They've used a couple different quarterbacks, one of which is a junior that's played really, really well in Tyrone Jackson. Another one that stepped up for them in the offensive side of the package. They have a couple of William & Mary commits, by the way. But another one that stepped up for them, a big deal in the package, has been their main wide receiver, Kai Austin, who's going to William & Mary, 54 grabs for 839 and 9 TDs. Got Zach Hibner, the junior tight end, with 7 touchdown grabs of his 45 catches. But in the end, I just don't know if Lake Braddock's defense is going to be able to do enough to stop Madison. We move it down to Class 5. It's a game people have been looking forward to in the 7-5-7, and it's Green Run taking on Maury. What's going to happen in this third encounter? If the Stallions can show that they are able to get a pass rush on Montori Newkirk, they have an opportunity to stay in this ballgame and even possibly win it. But right now, the way Maury has been playing on offense, it is hard to imagine anybody can shut them down. I mean, Newkirk statistically this year, folks, has just been ridiculous. So that sure, they have all those great defensive players too that we'll highlight, with Carlton Smith, the Eastern District Defensive Player of the Year, going to Maryland. Ari Watford, who signed with Clemson. You've got Kendall Daniels, who's had a couple of picks here recently, 6 on the year, 2 defensive scores. They're just an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position for Newkirk, with LeBron Bond, the Indiana signee, and Elijah Moss, Damon McDaniel Jr., Javon Wiggins. You're literally looking at 4 players with 25 catches or more in that offense. But Newkirk, 33-69 passing, 43 TDs, 2 INTs. And then you look at his rushing ability with 475 and 6. So he's accounted for 50 touchdowns. Now, Kassan Farrar for Green Run at quarterback, he's no slouch either. And he's got a wide receiver that can pose some issues for the Maury secondary in Jaden Anderson. But it's going to be about up front, winning that battle in the trenches. If Green Run's able to win that with their defensive line, breaking down the Maury offensive line, they stand a chance in this ballgame. I don't think it will happen, but I'm not going to say it's impossible to happen, because Green Run, from a playmaker standpoint, is one of the few teams in the state that can stand toe-to-toe in the ring with Maury with their talent. So this is not a game the Commodores should take lightly. I know in the past they've looked at them as the little beach step brothers, if you will. I don't think they want to get caught up in that mistake to where they're trailing in this game. They have to get tough yards on the ground in second and third down situations because the passing game isn't clicking. They don't want to get caught up in that situation. But the Maury defense is I think, going to make a big difference in this game too. So I got the Commodores by a couple of scores, as does Coach Young. He's got it scored 28-12. As far as some other matchups, Class 5, Briarwoods, LC Bird. This is a tough game here. In fact, both Ed and I have got Briarwoods. Our Richmond reporter, Danny Lewis, has LC Bird. But I think it's going to be decided by a few different factors here. So we've got the preview up on the front page on Virginia Preps as we speak to you. It's going to be, can Mike Burnett's offensive line, which was viewed as maybe the sore spot of the team, can it step up in the big spot here? Can they give Brady Carmichael, their quarterback, time to throw? He's going to Navy as a linebacker. You got also going to Navy, Jason Scooter Williams, the quarterback from Salem and Virginia Beach. Bird's got to cut down on the penalties. They had a bunch of them this year. That could put them behind the numbers. It could also be an issue for Oscar Smith in its Class 6 game with Colonial Forge, some of the penalties pre-snap. And now you make 1st and 10, 1st and 20, or you make 2nd and 5, 2nd and 15. You don't love those. They've got to stop the Bird ground game, does Briarwoods. They did a good job of containing Riverbend's ground attack last week, and then third down conversion so important. But Bird can be physical because they run the ball. They've got Jason Wright. I just feel like the X factor in this game is Colin Capistrant for Briar Woods out wide. I think he can make some plays even against that really good Bird defense. You're asking Bird to win a third straight road playoff game, to win at Matoka, at William Fleming, at Briar Woods. They can pull it off. It is doable, but I'm going to give the slight lean. And Coach knows that it's going to overtime, folks, to Briar Woods in that one in Class 5. But I think the winner of the Maury Green Run game is definitely hoisting the trophy, and I'm giving Maury the certain edge on my end here. Class 4, Sharando Phoebus. Ed's got it 30-8 Phantoms. I've got it 27-7 Phantoms. There have been some that have made the comment to me. This reminds them a lot, the Sharando team, of that Culpeper team back in the 90s that came down and stunned Hampton. I could see why some would say that. That's why they feel that this team has some of those comps. Michael Carlson has to be clicking here. He was a question mark for last week's game time decision as they took on Salem, and he played really well for them. And without his services, without his contributions, it's not a game they win, in my opinion. The special teams has also got to give Sharando a big lift in this game. They're going to need their kicker, Aiden Leach, to make a couple of big kicks. Going to need the punter, which is Carlson, to give them field position, and they got to win the field position battle with the Phantoms. But ultimately, I wonder how Sharando is going to run the ball against that ferocious Phoebus defensive front with Brendan Thompson and Caleb Tillery. They don't have a 1,000-yard back on the season. Carlson's their closest thing to it with 989 from the quarterback position, and I can't tell you the last time I've seen a quarterback run the ball effectively on that Phoebus defense. So edge to the Phantoms, and I think it's pretty comfortably that they win this football game on Saturday at Darling Stadium. I do have respect for what Sharando has done this year. TJ Rohrborough's team has had a great year, but I think the train ends here. And Verona Tuscarora, this has the makings to be quite possibly the best state semifinal game. These are two outstanding defenses. Don't pay attention to what Verona's defense gave up to Dinwiddie, 27 points, because the week before they shut out Huguenot, who was averaging close to 50 points per ball game. It's going to be a good one on Route 5 on Saturday afternoon. Our man Denny Lewis will be there. You got Dawson Pugh, who's going to Boston College for Tuscarora. Shout out to the Pugh family. I know they watched the show. He's had an awesome year, Offensive Player of the Year in Region 4C. And you also got the Region Defensive Player of the Year in 4C for them. It's going to complement him. Last year it was Lucas Love. This year it's Mr. Lucas Allen. I think Tuscarora is for real in this game. But Verona, with their wide receiver, DB, the matchup I'm loving to see is if Pugh and Damari Carter, the junior, check each other. Carter's a big-time talent as well, coming off a monster game in the state semis with his quarterback and Caleb Weish. Danny and I both have it scored Verona to win it. He's got it 28-20. I got it 21-13. Ed's got it 24-18. But if Tuscarora keeps Carter in check and they overwhelm the Verona offensive line, then this can be a game they win. I think Verona's defensive integrity from the linebacker position on down. Miles Anderson's having a great year to complement Carter and Weish on that offense. Also made some plays on defense. I think Verona, having been here before, being at home is going to help them. But this game could be a real physical battle that is one worth the price of admission for all the folks out there. Coming up next, we have here on Cova Sports TV, Charlie Porterfield, his Kettle Run Cougars. They're going to be in action against the Lafayette Rams, and we're going to hear what he has to say about that game. Kettle Run, unbeaten on the year. Lafayette, unbeaten on the year. You say, Matt, there are 16 state semifinal games. Yes, there are. How many feature undefeated teams going head-to-head? Well, great question for you those that want to know. You have one in Class 5 with Green Run and Maury. You have one in Class 3 with Lafayette and Kettle Run. And then you also have – no, that's it. It's just those two. I thought it was three. Just those two. So it's one of your two matchups of unbeatens squaring off in the state semis. I thought it was three. I forgot there that Essex lost to one game to Rappahannock. So them and Alta Vista is not a state semifinal unbeaten. So you have just two of them. And by the way, some great research from our man Robert Anderson, the historian, Hall of Famer in my book for us at Virginia Preps. Used to write for the Roanoke Times. He does fantastic work. Listen to some of these records of the last 4 years for these teams. Maury 46-4, Green Run 50-3, Phoebus 53-1, Graham 53-3, Liberty Christian 50-3. Not too shabby. Kettle Run and Lafayette, neither one's lost this season, but one's going down on Saturday. We'll get Coach Porterfield's thoughts on his team and the matchup with the Rams coming up here on Cova Sports TV. It's going to come your way after a timeout. Let's hear from another sponsor that makes it possible for us to do this with you each and every week, and that means it's time to hear from Town Bank.
I grew up here. I know this town. I know the people here. More important, they know me. As a banker at Town Bank, we become part of the communities we serve. The people who bank with us, our members, know us. When you bank with Town Bank, you'll know your banker. You'll know you can reach us, and you'll know we're here for you.
As a lifelong local, avid waterman, coach at Kettle High School, coach at the Virginia West Soccer Club, also a member at Virginia Beach National and Henry Reed Golf Club. The 757 is a great place to live and play. As a seasoned realtor at the Bryan Group, I know I can find you the perfect home.
And we're back here on The Hash with Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our Cova Sports TV YouTube channel, wherever you may be tuning in, be it social media platforms like Instagram, X or Twitter as they know them, Facebook, VirginiaPreps.com, also heard on Apple and Spotify. We thank you all for checking out our podcast as we are state semifinal weekend. We are privileged to be joined by a special guest. He's the head football coach of the Region 3B champion Kettle Run Cougars. And they've had some thrillers the last 2 weeks, beating Armstrong and Thomas Jefferson of Richmond, two talented teams from the 804 area code. Now a 757 team ventures into their territory as they'll be playing host to the Lafayette Rams. We say hello and congrats to Coach Charlie Porterfield. Coach, thanks for stopping by. Congrats on the great season so far, and you got to be loving that you're playing football in the month of December.
Yeah, Matt. Again, thank you so much for having me. Again, it's an honor. I try to follow this every week and see what's going on in the state. So it's an honor, honestly, for me to be able to talk about our program and be on the podcast. So again, thank you very much.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I know we've spoken for years and years, and watch what you've done from afar up there in Nokesville, and it's pretty impressive because for those who don't know, Kettle Run's been playing football only since 2008. You took over as the head football coach in 2016, if I recall. So take the audience out there, some that aren't diehard Kettle Run football fans. There's a bunch of them. We'll get to all your players that have helped you to this point in a moment, but take us through your football journey, how you got involved with the game, and how you landed at Kettle Run.
Sure. I've been around the game, Matt, since I was 8 years old. I grew up on the other side of the state of Virginia. I'm a Virginia boy, diehard through and through. Grew up in Jonesville, down in Southwest Virginia in Lee County. Grew up watching my brother play football, started playing when I was 8, and then I've been involved with the game ever since. Got lucky enough out of high school to get an opportunity to go down and play football at Elon University. Played for some great head coaches down there. Played for Pete Limbo my last 2 years. After I finished, took an opportunity to go coach at Allegheny College up in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Spent a year up there coaching the D-line, and then was lucky enough to get to go back to Elon for 2.5 seasons or 2.5 years as the director of operations and their tight end coach. After that, moved up here to Northern Virginia, didn't really have any ties. When Bud Bicknell opened up Patriot High School, I was looking for a high school job, and lo and behold, he's like, hey, do you want to come up to Nokesville and interview? Sure enough, it worked out. My wife and I moved up here, bought a house out in Warrington, spent about 5 years at Patriot. And then luckily enough, the Kettle Run job came open. We were living here in Fauquier County at the time. I had some dreams and aspirations of seeing if I could be a head coach and maybe putting my feet in that water. And again, Paul Fry, our athletic director, has been here since I got here. Lucky enough and gave me the opportunity to take over this head job. And again, I've been here since 16. And when I moved up here in 11 to take the Patriot job, that was the first time Kettle Run ever hosted their first state semifinals game. And then they played in it in 12. So even moving up here, I had already kind of heard about Kettle Run and knew what they were doing. Again, when the job came open, I was already living in the county. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to take a shot at it and see if I could get it. And luckily, again, was gracious enough to get the job and have been here ever since. And really couldn't be happier. Been one of the best places I've ever been. And I love this community and this town. And, we've been able to do some special things here, I think, over the last 9 years, and hopefully going to continue rolling for a few more.
Yeah, what is it now? 6 or 7 district titles. You've won a few region championships just a couple years back in 2022. For those that haven't followed it closely, you were in the Class 4 state championship. You took out EC Glass in the state semis in Lynchburg, fell to Dinwiddie in the title game, and then you dropped down to Class 3. Let's get through just your last couple of games here, and we'll have the results here scrolling across our ticker for folks to see it. You've had some easy wins early on. You played a Sharando team, who, by the way, is playing the state semifinals, coming up against Phoebus. Maybe get your thoughts on them in a second, too. But you had these last 2 games with Armstrong and TJ. Take me through just those battles down the wire. They're kicking a field goal as Armstrong at the end, and then you get an interception at the end of the game against TJ on the road in the 804. The first game you played against Armstrong, you were at home. This last game on the road, just tell me how your kids responded to those tough, adverse moments.
Matt, and again, I tell the guys, this is probably the most proud I've been these last 2 weeks of watching them and getting to be a part of watching them and helping them kind of overcome some adversity. And again, I think you mentioned that Sharando game early. I'm not going to hesitate to mention that Hanley game. That second week of the season was a big test for us as well. Mm-hmm. So again, I think we knew some stuff early. We had taken a little adversity, but not quite like we faced in that Armstrong game and that TJ game. Again, Armstrong, we're down twice in that game by, at least 14 points both times, able to kind of battle back and get the win. Again, luckily we were here. I thought our kids played extremely hard against that Armstrong team. And again, I think TJ's the same, getting to go down there. I told the coach, first time I'd ever been down to Richmond to play a game. First time I've ever played any of those teams in that area code. So again, we were excited again to get that opportunity to go down and to compete for a regional title. And luckily, again, it came out on top again. I think the great thing was the 4 quarters. We were able to put really 2 4-quarter games back to back. It's easy to do one. I was worried a little bit that, we maybe, used all up all our mojo against that Armstrong team. But again, to watch us kind of come back and battle the way that the guys did against TJ, again, I think we feel good about where we're at and confident, heading into this state semifinal game. But again, it's always an honor to be playing this late. I try to tell the guys every day, hey guys, there's only 4 other teams in our division right now practicing. So that's maybe less than 350 guys are practicing right now at the Division III level. So it's an honor to still be getting to do that. And again, we try to stay humble and stay blessed that, we're still getting to line up every day and go to practice with our buddies and get to coach and play the game that we love. And we're getting extra opportunities to do that. So.
You've produced some record setters here lately. I think of Jordan Tapscott just a couple years ago, who went on to Virginia Tech, who made just an incredible dent in the record book in terms of yardage, catches, touchdowns. And you got a few guys this year that I want you to hit on that have done that for you. Jacob Mulhern at quarterback, Colton Quaker at running back, and then a guy I think is very underrated for you, Connor Bernatsky, your tight end. If you love tight ends like Travis Kelce and George Kittle, he's like that for you guys. Tell us about what these guys have meant and others that have contributed to your success.
Sure. Mulhern, again, he's my wife's favorite player. Because he's not a big kid. I think what you see about looking at most quarterbacks, he's probably a 5'9" kid, maybe 145, 150 pounds, but plays like he's 6'4" and 230. I mean, does everything you'd want a quarterback to do. He took his first sack on Friday against TJ, and that was a ball that he kind of fell out of his hands. So he's done a great job all year of doing exactly what you want a quarterback to do: lead the offense, distribute the balls. I think right now we have something like 5 or 6 guys that have over 500 yards of offense right now. We have multiple guys with double-digit touchdowns. So he's done a great job of just being what you need in a quarterback. Again, steady, calm. He runs the offense. He's the general in the huddle. He's getting those guys lined up. And again, he's been able to produce. I think he's broken all of our quarterback records at this point. He's just kind of putting those even further out of reach for whoever those guys are that come in next. Quaker, of course, that kid's been a starter for us since he was a freshman. He's put a lot of those running back records kind of out of reach. And again, a lot of those records were hard to beat because those were set by Josh Tapscott back years ago. Again, back when we were kind of rolling for that first couple years that the school opened. So again, Quaker's kind of contributions on both sides of the ball for us have been invaluable. And then this year, having Carter Bernatsky really step up at that tight end spot. He was our backup tight end last year, our second tight end. And I think we knew, hey, we're going to feel pretty good about what he's able to do, he does everything you want a tight end to do. He's able to block. He plays with his hand in the dirt. He runs all the routes you'd want. He pulls, catches shovel passes. He catches screens. He does everything you'd want a tight end to do. And he was a kid who, as a freshman, was a receiver in a corner. And he came to us as, an undersized kid and spent really 4 or 5 years in the weight room, hit a growth spurt. And then again, has really, for us, Carter's contributed on both sides of the ball because he's also our starting middle linebacker who's had really a kind of a stellar year on defense as well. But I think anytime that you have a tight end, that's a functional tight end. And then again, I think Jonathan Taylor, our fullback, those two guys add a whole different realm to our game as far as, you got to cover a receiver. Everybody knows that. You got to cover tailbacks, and we got 3 really good tailbacks. Having those other 2 guys, that fullback and that tight end, just give you extra guys on the field. And again, I think we want to make it as difficult as we can for defenses to prepare for us. So having those extra guys on the field that, again, you got to make sure that you're covering Bernatsky. If you're not, he's going to be a weapon. You got to make sure you're getting some pressure on Mulhern, all right, and you're taking those throws away because, again, he's able to hit all 3 of our receivers that we have out on the field. Roth, Colton Lubby, and then Braylon Jenkins, have all been stellar players for us this year as well. Mulhern's done a great job finding those kids. And then, again, Quaker never misses a beat. That kid can take a couple plays off and then comes back in the next drive, and the first carry he gets, it's for 20. He's just that type of kid. So we've been blessed with really good athletes.
For sure. It's been able to save him a little bit with keeping him fresh for defense and whatnot. I know he's also gone through some injuries in battle. But I love hearing about the fullbacks and tight ends because you and Lafayette, who we'll get to the matchup here, mirror images, and you both use that, respect that. And sometimes now with spread football, 4 or 5 receivers, you go empty. You don't see that as often. But hearing Taylor and obviously Bernatsky's name is so great to hear. And you mentioned Josh Tapscott, Jordan Tapscott. And this is a chance for you to mention so many different guys, unsung heroes. But you have another Tapscott, a freshman. I think it's Dyson in the secondary who's making plays for you. Tell me about him.
It's Jordan's little brother.
Okay.
And again, it was one of those things. We were excited about him. He's clearly been around the program for years with his brother being in the program, his dad being on the staff. His dad's the head basketball coach here at Kettle Run. So Dyson's been around our program since he was a little boy. And we always knew we were excited about getting him. And again, I think I don't want to say shocked, but very pleasantly surprised with his ability to perform as a freshman. Kid's 14 years old. I think he has 8 interceptions on the year, has started at free safety for us the entire year, which is not an easy spot, especially in our defense. We ask a lot of those kids as far as getting other guys lining up, making sure you're kind of fixing anybody that's off on coverage, and then being able to run the alley and make tackles. And again, for a freshman to be able to do that has been really special to see. And again, one of those kids that, this year we've gotten a lot out of him, but really the future is so bright for him. And then again, a lot of those younger guys in the program that we're all really excited about. We've had a chance this year to play some younger guys that have got some playoff experience now. And again, I try to tell guys, I think one of these things that's helped us is, we really get extra weeks of practice, So those young guys that we have that are playing scout team or those freshmen that we have that are playing up on the varsity, at this point, they've gotten 4 extra weeks of practice. So that's just, 4 more weeks to help guys get a little bit better. So, and again, if you end up playing 5 games extra in the playoffs, that's a half an extra season that, all your freshmen, all your scout team guys are getting to play just that much more football. So again, I think that's why those teams, you see Lafayette in the playoffs every year, because I think those guys get so much extra practice that you may not account for making playoff runs every year. It just helps your team grow and develop, and that just kind of becomes the standard. So again, we're really blessed that we've gotten to get these extra weeks these last couple of years and get some of those young guys some extra experience, get their feet wet a little bit when it comes to playoff football, and then hopefully just kind of continue building for the future.
Charles Porterfield, I guess, the Northwestern District Coach of the Year, Kettle Run. The Region 3B champs hosting the Region 3A champion Lafayette Rams, coached by Andy Lynn, coming up on Saturday at 2 o'clock. It's on the hash with Hatfield. Coach, in Dyson to be leading his interceptions as a freshman is pretty remarkable. Given that, and you have playmakers on the defense. Both of you teams have great playmakers on each side of the ball, but the last couple of games has been in the 30s. How pivotal is it going to be as we break down this matchup with you and Lafayette to get takeaways in this game? Because you know how physical, how fundamentally sound disciplined Lafayette is, to get a couple of either fumble recoveries, a pick, can really swing momentum in this type of game, and maybe even a play on special teams.
Yeah, and I think that's, One of the first things, clearly Lafayette was exactly kind of what I expected when I put the film on. I expected a well-coached coach, does a great job up there. I got the chance to meet him for the first time at the state meeting last year. But it's evident on film. You put that film on and within the first 4 clips that they're a well-coached team, that they're going to play hard, they're going to play fast, they're going to play physical, they tackle well, their special teams are top-notch. They do all the things that you expect a team that's making a run at a state championship to do every year. I think the thing you put on the film and you immediately see is the danger of letting them get up. I think Lafayette's one of those programs where if they're up 14 on you, that's a long way away. Because, again, their offense is a ground and pound. They don't have any problems getting, in that double wing and just running the ball down your throat and just eating clock up. So, again, I think, like you said, Matt, taking the ball away, finding a way to get some extra possessions, flip back to our side is going to be really pivotal in our being successful on Saturday. The other thing is, and again, we got to find a way to make a play on special teams. Even if, a blocked extra point, blocked punt, even a big return, and it doesn't have to go to the house, but if you can return a ball past your 50, give yourself a short field on an offensive drive, you're just going to feel that much better about your ability to drive the ball, and score. And again, I think this week is going to be a big challenge to do that. Because again, I think that Lafayette Rams crew is so well coached. They don't make mistakes. They take advantage of stuff that you give them. And if you make a mistake, they're going to capitalize on it. So again, I think this is the type of team you expect to play at this level. And again, I wasn't shocked when I put that film on. It was exactly kind of what I thought. Again, growing up in Virginia, the name of Lafayette High School and how good they are at football and traditionally have been at football. And it continues that way. So again, I think from our guys, it's just an honor that we're getting to be in the conversation and play with teams like this, and again, compete and hopefully have a shot to move on to the big one.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wrap it up, and by the way, when a guy by the name of Lawrence Taylor once played for Lafayette, that tells you all you need to know. Arguably the greatest defensive player of all time, certainly in the conversation among the greatest of all time.
Sure.
As you look at it big picture, how nice is it to have this game on your surface at home? Because a lot of people looked at it and said maybe they would host it, given that they're the undefeated 1 seed. You guys were a 2 seed, but you guys had a better power rating, so you get to host this. How nice is it for your home fans to see you play one more time before what you hope would then be a state championship you're able to win?
Right. And again, Matt, that's for me. I've never got to host this game, so this is the first time as a coach that I've ever got to host a state semifinal game. Again, the last one we played in, we were on the road down in Lynchburg. So again, it's as high of an honor as you could really get. Again, this is the last game that you're able to host during the season. So that state title game is going to be at a neutral site. This is the last opportunity that you get to play in front of your home stands and your home crowd. So we certainly aren't going to take that lightly. I think the community is excited. I have a couple guys that work over in Prince William County at some of the high schools that, they got kids over there talking about, hey, we're going to pop out to the game, watch you guys play. So again, I think we have a great community support here in Nokesville. I think when I took over, that's one of the first things I noticed was how passionate this community was about football and how they wanted to be good. And have really supported us as we've been on these runs. So, again, I think getting to be able to do this with them one last time, again, for me, it's the highest honor you could get. Getting a chance to play at your home field, where you feel comfortable and not having to travel. And, again, huge honor. And, again, we're happy to be able to do it. Again, I say anytime you get a team like Lafayette that's got to come to play you're feeling pretty good about, where you're at in that season.
Should be a fun one in Nokesville Saturday, 2 o'clock kickoff as the undefeated Kettle Run Cougars play host to the unbeaten Lafayette Rams. Winner moves on to Liberty University in the state championship in VHSL Class 3 football on December 14th against the winner of the other semifinal featuring the Region 3C champion Liberty Christian Bulldogs and the Region 3D champion William Byrd Terriers. Charlie Porterfield, thank you so much for stopping by. All the best, and we'll talk again down the road.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
On the Hash with Hatfield continues to move it along right here after this timeout. We'll hear from some of the sponsors to make it possible for us. Stay tuned. You're watching Cova Sports TV.
At Rush Soccer, our love of the game and the community we create doesn't stop when we leave the pitch or when the season ends. We are more than an individual player, team, club, or league. We are a truly global community of athletes, parents, coaches, professionals, and fans. We believe that youth sports and the pathway to a lifelong love of soccer have the power to form deep, meaningful connections that will fundamentally shape our players and those in our community. We believe that what we feel is the key to what we can achieve. Feel the pride. Feel the confidence. Feel the legacy. Feel the connection. Feel the trust. Feel the acceptance. Feel the purpose. Feel the difference. Feel the rush.
What makes a life a good one? Is it our adventures? Or the friends we find along the way? Is it the challenges we conquer together? Maybe it's the people's lives we touch every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
What is more? Is it more reps, more strength, more stamina? We say it's all of that, but it's greater than just what's in the mirror. It's about improving your mental and physical health. More is a feeling of achievement, fulfillment, confidence. It's looking better, feeling better, being better, and it's our mission to get you there. Because here, you are more. One Life Fitness.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk.
Usually it's Hatfield. That's why I try to tell everybody, get on Hatfield. He is the legal scribe, the talking head that knows all this, puts the whammies on. We do things different on this podcast. That's why we're rated number 3 in the state.
You got Play-Doh? Get out of here! We got people all over the globe watching with us. Sitting in a phone booth with you would be very...
well, no, we got to have your own phone booth. I'm not sitting in no phone booth with you.
It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on Cougars Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. And we're back here on this final segment of On the Hash with Hatfield before next week's preview of the state championship games. It'll be taking place at Salem, Liberty University, and James Madison. We'll close out the 2024 Virginia High School football campaign then. As always, you're encouraged to interact with us on Cova Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on VirginiaPreps.com, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X as they call it, all these different platforms, IG, you name it, we're everywhere. And let's go through my quick thoughts and the picks that we have for you. And we'll have in-depth previews all day long into Saturday on VirginiaPreps.com. So this will be sort of a rapid-fire edition. We'll try to get this done in less than 7 minutes. We'll count it up from Class 3 to Class from Class 1 to Class 3, since we did it the other way with my little snapshot picks and previews here. So we've got it on the screen for you now. You see it on the screen now. Your matchup, Essex and Alta Vista. In Class 1, you have Grayson County and Rye Cove. Coach Young and I differ on who's going to win the Grayson County-Rye Cove game. Rye Cove defensively did not have its perfect effort, or I should say an A performance against Eastside in the region championship, whereas Grayson County had a shutout the last time out against Bath County and their quarterback Wyatt Campbell. So that, to me, lends me to believe that Grayson County might be better positioned defensively with what they can do and how they can try to stifle the Landon Lane-led Eagles in the Rye Cove offense that can be blistering at times. I look at what Rye Cove has done this year, and they put up in the 40s a lot of times, and Lane is tremendous. But Grayson County might be a bit underrated in terms of they've played good competition to get to this point, and I like what I've seen from the Goad brothers, Mac Goad, Maverick Goad, McCray Goad, and then Aaron Peterson's run for 1107 and 15 touchdowns. Defensively and in special teams, they've got a couple of guys in Mitchell and Peterson, David Mitchell and Aaron Peterson, that can make plays through the specials on that end. So I think that they might have the edge in this game. Coach is going with Rye Cove to keep the unbeaten dream going. We could see 2 unbeatens go down because Essex runs into, or Alta Vista runs into an Essex team that has yet to give up a point this postseason, which is scary if you're Alta Vista to an extent. Last year's game, it was won by Essex 16-8 at home. This time they have to go to Alta Vista. We know Alta Vista as a rushing attack, they've been phenomenal. 5,018 yards on the ground, 10 yards per carry on 501 attempts. Problem is the passing game doesn't produce a whole lot. Now, Cooper Brooks, he's been accurate when he does throw, 17 of 19 for 214 and 5 TDs with 1 intercept. But can the Essex defense force Alta Vista to throw? And I think the same is going to be said. Can the Alta Vista defense make Essex have to throw? Another game where Coach and I differ on who's going to prevail. One of us has it 14-7. The other one has it 18-16. And it does figure to be a low-scoring defensive game, although the Alta Vista offense has been humming all year long. Class 2. You've got Pocosin. You've got Strasburg. And what a job Pocosin has done this year. And Elliott Duty's team with so many contributors. Nathan Quiroz on defense. Austin Conley at linebacker. You've got Carter Jones as a two-way lineman force. Just that whole group. And Pocosin's not a team that airs it out a lot, nor is Strasburg. With Taki Coates, their go-to running back, had a couple long scores in their game with Buckingham. This figures to be another low-scoring, mirror image, close to the vest type of game. And ultimately, it could be first to double digits, wins it 14 perhaps. Coach has got it scored 22-21 Bull Islanders. I like Pocosin to pull it out close. They are at home. It's the first time they've hosted a state semi, I think, since 2010. They've been on the road for a lot of these state semis recently, including Riverheads just a year ago. Glenver and Graham, this is a great matchup. Graham's defensive front, we've talked about those linemen all year long with Omari Hill, the veteran, the young pup, and Zay Kennard. They've got players that can do things in space with the ball in their hands. Guys like Chris Edwards, who is pretty lethal. Guys like, in addition to him, Jamel Floyd, who can line up at Wildcat and run the ball. Dalton Roberts at quarterback's been pretty accurate. But nobody in Class 2 has played the quarterback position to the level of Brody Doyot. Listen to Brody's stats this year for Glenver. We've been gushing about him all year long and for good reason. We're talking about 2,726 yards passing, 46 touchdowns, 5 intercepts. Remarkable stats. It stacks up with some of your better QBs in the higher divisions, like your Harry Dalton's in Class 4 and your Kassan Farrar Green Run in Class 5 and Tori Newkirk at Maury. Plus, Doyot's run for 700 yards, 12 TDs, 7.5 per pop. And on defense, one of their top tacklers with 90 stops, 18 sacks, 7 quarterback pressures. Now, up front in the trenches is the concern for Glenver in this game. They have guys that can make plays with the ball in space. Trey Doyot, half-brother for Brody, Forster, Deal, Mullins. Cooper Mullins is good. Swanson is good. They have weapons, Hanks as well. But the Graham defense just came off a shutout of Union. As we've talked about defenses, Grayson County's and Essex's now, and Graham's. They've reached a different level. This could be set above that with the Madisons, the Oscar Smiths, the Morys. Defense wins championships, and I like the way Graham's defense has been performing. Coach has got this scored as a 28-16 game. I've got it 21-14. And finishing up in Class 3, we differ on who wins the Lafayette and Kettle run game. It's going to be imperative for, as you heard Charlie Porterfield earlier, how well Kettle run can tackle and prevent Lafayette from having those time-consuming, lengthy drives that they are seeking in this matchup. Kettle runs more of a quick strike attack with Mulhern, who's got over 5,000 yards in his career as the QB, the trigger man for Kettle Run. They want to go with more, I think, tempo and pace in this game, and we'll see what wins out, which style wins out. They are similar in a lot of their fundamentals and their discipline, but I could see the home guys taking this one. Sorry, Lafayette, use it as your motivation, but it's a great game. I think there's a couple toss-ups for the 7-5-7 teams with the Pocosin, Strasburg, and Lafayette Kettle run games. I think they feel better about Phoebus, Oscar Smith. Maury Green Run, you're getting somebody. Edge is certainly given Maury there in that matchup. And Liberty Christian, William Byrd, this was a blowout in favor of Liberty Christian a year ago. Love what William Byrd has done, and kudos to Brad Lutz and his group. But how do you go about slowing down one Gideon Davidson because he is a machine right now. They have a quarterback in Kenan Lutz who's thrown for 23 touchdowns this year, 1,900 plus yards through the air, but it's going to be a hard game to win, as I would give the nod in this matchup to LCA, as does Coach Young. That's going to do it for this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good